Okay, so everyone's going on and on about AI, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
But then you see things like this Microsoft thing
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Italy.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait,
Huh.
they're investing how much in Italy
Yeah, it's a huge amount of money.
to become what? What is going on with that? I don't understand.
So Microsoft is really making a big bet on Italy,
So what's
becoming
that?
a major hub for artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And we're not talking about a small investment here. We're talking about 4.3 billion.
That's a lot of euros.
It's a massive amount of money, and it really shows how serious they are about this.
So what's the big deal? I mean, I hear data centers, I hear AI.
Right.
What's actually happening in Italy that's so significant?
What's fascinating here is that Microsoft is essentially planting a flag in Italy.
Okay.
They're building a massive network of data centers.
Data centers. See, I think this is where I get lost.
Okay.
Okay, for those of us who don't speak fluent tech,
Yeah.
what's the big deal about data centers? What does this have to do with AI?
Think of data centers as the backbone of the AI revolution.
Yep.
All those complex algorithms,
Right.
the lightning-fast processing,
Yeah.
it all requires incredible amounts of computing power.
Okay.
And that's where data centers come in.
Oh.
They house all those servers, all that energy to make AI work.
So it's like Italy's becoming the power grid for Europe's AI ambitions.
Exactly. And it gets even more interesting when you consider the EU's very, very strict data privacy laws.
Oh, right, with their GDPR and everything.
Exactly.
Right.
European companies are going to be much more comfortable storing their data within the EU
Okay.
rather than sending it overseas.
So Italy becomes the place to be
Exactly.
if you want to play in the AI space but also follow those rules?
Exactly.
Wow. That's a smart move for Microsoft to get out ahead of that.
Very strategic. And it's not just about the infrastructure.
Oh.
It's about building up Italy's human capital as well.
Okay.
The plan is to train 1 million Italians in AI skills by 2025.
1 million people.
That's a lot of people.
How do you even begin to train that many people in something so specific?
It's ambitious, to say the least.
Sure.
It will require a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
Think partnerships between universities, companies like Microsoft offering certifications, and even government-funded training programs. The key will be ensuring that the training aligns with actual industry needs,
Okay.
so those skills translate into real job opportunities.
Right, because 1 million AI-trained workers without jobs isn't exactly helpful.
Exactly.
Feels like they're trying to future-proof
Yes.
Italy's workforce.
Exactly.
Is that what's happening here, and why is that so important for Italy specifically?
You hit the nail on the head. Italy, like many countries, is facing an aging workforce and a potential brain drain
Yep.
as young talent seeks opportunities elsewhere. This investment tackles both issues.
Okay.
By creating a huge pool of AI-skilled workers,
Right.
they can potentially boost productivity to make up for that shrinking workforce
Okay.
and attract talent back to Italy.
Attract talent back to Italy.
It's a bold bet on the future.
This is starting to feel like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's true.
Like, can AI actually step in and fill the gap left by a shrinking population?
Yeah.
And what does that even look like in real life? Not just in theory.
It's a huge question, and it's not about robots replacing humans entirely.
Okay.
It's about AI tools and automation helping the existing workforce become more productive.
Okay.
Imagine a small business in Italy that couldn't afford a whole team of data analysts.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, with AI, they have access to powerful tools that allow them to analyze their own data, make better decisions,
Yeah.
and even compete on a global scale.
Okay, I see how that could level the playing field in a way.
Exactly.
But what about the people?
Yeah.
Look, what about the human cost?
Yeah.
What happens to the people whose jobs do become automated?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And there are no easy answers. It's a concern that has to be addressed head-on.
Right.
Some experts believe that AI will create new types of jobs that we haven't even imagined yet.
Okay.
It's like the early days of the internet. No one could have predicted the rise of social media managers or app developers.
Okay, we don't even know what we don't know yet.
Exactly.
But are we then looking at a complete reinvention of the Italian economy?
Potentially, yes.
And how does this, I mean, we're talking about 4.3 billion.
Yeah.
How does that actually translate into tangible economic growth?
Well, the potential impact is significant.
Okay.
Some projections estimate a whopping $312 billion boost to Italy's GDP
Wow.
over the next 15 years because of AI adoption.
312 billion. Okay, now you're speaking my language.
That's real money.
But forgive my skepticism.
Sure.
That sounds incredibly optimistic. Is that realistic? And where's all that growth supposed to come from?
It's important to remember that this isn't just about big tech companies raking in profits.
Okay.
The Italian economy relies heavily on small and medium-sized enterprises.
Okay.
Those often family-run businesses that are the backbone of the country.
So this isn't just about fancy robots in factories.
Exactly.
It's about bringing those benefits to the local pizza place.
Exactly.
Or the family-owned winery.
Exactly.
That's what I want to know. How does this impact the everyday Italian?
Exactly. These businesses stand to benefit hugely from AI. Imagine a local artisan who can now use AI to manage their inventory, predict demand, or even reach new customers online.
So this isn't just about robots and algorithms.
Exactly.
It's about empowering real people.
Exactly.
With these tools to thrive.
Yes.
Okay. I have to admit, this is starting to sound less like corporate jargon and more like a genuine opportunity.
That's what it is.
For people.
Yeah.
But how do we know this isn't all just hype?
Right.
How do we know this is actually working?
That's a healthy dose of skepticism to have.
Yeah.
For sure. But what's exciting is that we're already seeing real-world examples of Italian companies using AI to boost their productivity.
Like who?
The University of Turin, for example, partnered with Microsoft, and they are seeing positive results in terms of digital transformation within their academic community.
Okay, so it's not just this pie-in-the-sky vision of the future.
No.
It's happening now.
Exactly.
But with all this talk about data centers and processing power, there's a big question that always comes up.
And what's that?
Sustainability.
Yes, that's a big one.
Can Italy, a country that's known for its natural beauty,
of course,
its history,
yeah,
can they handle this kind of technological expansion without harming the environment?
That's the crucial question. The energy demands of AI are substantial, but Microsoft seems to be addressing those concerns head-on.
Okay, good.
Particularly when it comes to these new data centers.
So what are they actually doing
to
make sure that this AI revolution doesn't come at the cost of Italy's environment?
They've made a big deal about powering these data centers with 100% renewable energy.
Wow.
But what's more impressive is that they're not just buying renewable energy credits.
Right.
They're investing directly in new solar and wind farms.
Oh, wow.
Across Italy, specifically to power these facilities.
So they're adding to Italy's renewable energy capacity.
Exactly.
They're not just using what's already there.
Exactly.
That's a big deal.
It's huge.
But what about the data centers themselves?
Yeah.
Aren't those massive energy hogs?
Yes.
No matter how they're powered.
You're right. Keeping those servers cool take a lot of energy.
Right.
But what's really interesting here is that they are using a system that's far more efficient.
Okay.
It relies on evaporation for cooling.
Evaporation. So it's like a giant swamp cooler?
Kind of, yeah.
For a building full of computers?
Yeah.
That's pretty ingenious.
It's very innovative.
But where do they get that much water?
Yeah.
Especially in a country like Italy that's already dealing with water scarcity.
That's where it gets really interesting. The system primarily uses rainwater and groundwater.
Oh, okay.
Which is then treated and returned to the local water system.
So they're actually contributing to water conservation efforts.
In a way, yes.
That's wild. That's a side of data centers you don't often hear about.
No, you don't.
It's like this giant high-tech water filtration plant that also happens to be powering the AI revolution. Talk about multitasking.
It highlights how even the most resource-intensive technologies can have these positive ripple effects when approached thoughtfully.
Yeah. This whole sustainable data center thing, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
But it makes you wonder about the bigger picture here. This isn't just an Italian story, is it?
No, not at all.
Microsoft's making a big move. What's the, global strategy at play here?
You're right. This is about much more than just Italy.
Okay.
This is a glimpse into the future of AI on a global scale.
Okay.
What we're witnessing is this fierce competition among countries to become the hubs for this technology.
So it's like a global AI arms race.
Kind of, yeah.
But instead of stockpiling weapons, It's all about who has the most processing power,
Exactly. It's about the data.
the most skilled workers,
Absolutely.
the best environment for companies like Microsoft to set up shop.
It's the new arms race.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just like with the traditional arms race, there's always that risk of like things escalating,
Of course, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Countries might start cutting corners
absolutely.
on things like ethics or safety
Yeah,
just to get ahead.
to try to get that competitive edge.
Okay, that's a slightly terrifying thought. But is there a way for this to be like a win-win?
Right.
Can countries compete in a way that pushes the boundaries of AI but does it responsibly?
Right.
Or are we all destined for some kind of AI dystopia?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
There are no easy answers, but it is encouraging to see more conversations
Okay.
about ethical AI development and responsible use happening now.
Right. It feels like every other day there's a new headline about AI bias
Absolutely.
or the ethics of using facial recognition technology.
hmm
But how do we move beyond just talking about these issues?
Right.
How do we actually ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly?
It's going to take a global effort, for sure. Think about things like international agreements on data privacy,
Okay.
ethical guidelines for AI development, and maybe even independent bodies that can audit AI systems
Oh, okay.
to check for bias, to check for potential harm.
So kind of like a global watchdog for AI
Exactly.
to make sure it doesn't go rogue.
Precisely.
That seems like a big job for anyone to take on.
It's a huge job.
But going back to Italy for a moment,
Okay.
this whole Microsoft deal, it makes you wonder, why Italy,
Yeah.
of all places?
Right.
What made them so attractive
Yeah.
to a tech giant like Microsoft compared to, say, I don't know, France or Germany?
Right. That's a question a lot of people overlook.
Yeah.
But remember how we talked about the EU's strict data privacy regulations, GDPR?
Yeah, right.
Well, Microsoft already has a decent cloud infrastructure in Europe,
Okay.
but those data centers are mostly in Northern Europe.
Okay.
Putting a hub in Italy gives them a more strategic advantage.
Kids of geography.
Exactly.
How does that work? How does Italy's location play into this?
Just about it. By building this network of data centers in Italy, Microsoft is essentially creating a data hub for the entire Mediterranean region,
Wow.
including North Africa.
So they're not just thinking about Europe, they're thinking about a whole other continent
Exactly.
that's growing its own tech sector.
Absolutely.
It's like digital real estate.
Hmm.
Location, location, location.
You got it. And just like with physical real estate, some locations are more desirable than others.
Right.
Italy offers this unique blend of factors.
Okay.
EU membership, for one.
Right. They have to follow those data privacy rules.
Exactly. Strategic location, we talked about that.
Right.
And a government that seems very eager to embrace AI.
Right.
That makes it very appealing to companies like Microsoft.
This is why I love these deep dives. You uncover all these like hidden layers, these connections
Yeah.
that you would never even think about just from reading a headline.
Exactly. Exactly.
Speaking of hidden layers,
Yeah.
there's one thing I still don't quite get.
Okay.
Microsoft is investing a ton of money in training 1 million Italians in AI.
Right.
But what happens after those people are trained?
Right. Right.
Are there even going to be enough jobs for them?
Right.
Or are we just creating a whole new set of problems?
That's the other million-dollar question.
Right.
It's one thing to create a skilled workforce, but
Yeah.
it's another to make sure that there are jobs for those people to fill.
Right.
So it's not enough for Microsoft to just invest in the training.
Okay.
They need to work with the Italian government, businesses, universities, everyone,
Oh, wow.
to create an ecosystem where those AI skills are in high demand.
So it's about creating the right conditions for a thriving AI sector in Italy,
Exactly.
making sure that it's not just a select few that benefit from this whole technological shift.
It's about making sure this technology uplifts everyone.
Right.
Creates opportunities for all Italians.
Okay.
Otherwise, you risk exacerbating existing inequalities and leaving people behind.
And we've seen that happen before with other technological advancements.
Oh, absolutely.
The digital divide, the skills gap.
Right.
How do we make sure history doesn't repeat itself with AI?
That's what everyone is trying to figure out.
Right.
It's a complex issue, but it starts with a commitment to equity from the get-go.
Okay.
We need to ensure that everyone has access to AI training and opportunities, regardless of their background.
So it's not just about teaching people to code.
Exactly.
It's about creating a level playing field
Yes,
so that everyone has a chance to succeed in this new AI-powered world.
exactly. It's about ensuring that the benefits of AI are shared widely, not just concentrated in the hands of a select few.
Right, right.
And this requires careful planning, ongoing dialogue, and a commitment to inclusivity from all stakeholders.
It's a tall order,
Yeah,
but it's an important one to get right.
absolutely.
Now, we've talked a lot about the economic impact of AI, the jobs, the GDP growth.
Yeah.
But what about the cultural impact?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Because Italy has such a rich history,
Deep, yeah.
such a strong sense of identity.
Yeah.
How do you see AI influencing that?
That's a fascinating question, and it's something that we should consider more often, frankly.
Yeah.
Italy is known for its artisans, its traditions, its way of life.
Right.
Will this huge influx of technology clash with that?
Right.
Or could it actually enhance it?
Right. Will it make Italians more Italian or less Italian?
Right.
I don't know if there's an easy answer to that,
It's a tough one.
but it's something to think about.
It is. It speaks to this complex relationship between technology, culture, and identity.
Yeah.
It's not a simple equation of progress equals erasure of tradition. It's much more nuanced than that.
Right.
Think about how Italian fashion houses are already using AI for things like trend forecasting
Oh,
and
interesting.
then personalized design.
So they're using AI to both preserve and evolve those traditions
Exactly.
in a way that still feels authentic.
Exactly. And it'll be fascinating to see how this plays out in other areas of Italian culture and society
Yeah.
in the years to come.
This whole conversation just makes me realize that the future of AI, it's not just about algorithms.
No.
It's not just about data centers.
No.
It's about people.
It is about people.
It's about culture.
Yeah.
It's about how we shape technology and how it shapes us in return.
Beautifully said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's about the kind of future we want to create with AI.
Yes.
And that's a much broader conversation than just the technology itself.
much broader, much broader.
And that kind of brings us to the part of the show where we leave our listeners with a little something to ponder,
Ooh, I like it.
a question to spark their curiosity.
Okay. What do you have for them today?
We've talked about Italy potentially becoming this AI powerhouse,
Right.
but it makes you wonder, what if, this is just the tip of the iceberg,
Okay.
what if in a few years the most sought-after resources aren't oil or gold, but data
Right.
and processing power?
Wow. And the countries that control those resources will hold the keys to the future.
Right?
That's a thought-provoking idea. It really speaks to the shifting balance of power in the world.
Yeah.
And how AI is really poised to reshape the geopolitical landscape.
Yeah.
Whereas we can only begin to imagine.
It's a lot to process, but I think that's what this deep dive is all about.
Absolutely.
It's about diving deep into these complex issues.
Yeah.
And hopefully leaving our listeners with more questions than answers.
Because sometimes asking the right questions is more important than having all the answers.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll wrap up part 2 of this deep dive. But don't worry, we'll be back with part 3 to explore even more fascinating angles on this AI revolution. Okay, so we've talked about a lot with this Microsoft and Italy thing,
Yeah.
with AI and data centers and all this.
Absolutely.
But I want to go back to something we talked about earlier,
Okay.
with Italy becoming like a data hub
Yeah.
for not just Europe, but
Yeah.
maybe North Africa too,
That's
which is a huge opportunity. But then it also feels like a big responsibility.
It does, because it raises a lot of questions about how we manage data in a world where it's becoming as valuable as oil or gold.
Right, exactly.
You know, who gets to access that data?
Right,
Who benefits from it?
yeah.
And then how do you make sure that those benefits are shared fairly?
Right.
Not just within Italy, but also with its neighbors.
Yeah, because we've seen what happens when, like, technology just advances faster
Yes.
than our ability to kind of manage the consequences.
It's true.
And then we end up with digital divides and data privacy concerns
Yeah.
and all sorts of things that we didn't really intend.
Absolutely.
So how do you prevent that from happening here?
It's a challenge,
Yeah.
but I think it starts with transparency
Okay.
and collaboration.
Okay.
Italy can't do this alone.
Right.
You know, they need to work closely with other countries, with these tech companies, with all these civil organizations
Right.
to create a framework for data governance that is ethical,
Right.
equitable, and sustainable.
Okay, so it's not just about building it. It's also about figuring out the rules.
Yes, exactly. It's about establishing the rules of the road for this whole new era
Right.
of data-driven innovation.
It's really easy to get caught up in all the, like,
Oh, I know.
the data and the technology and the global competition.
Right.
And sometimes I worry that we kind of lose sight of, like, the human element in all of this.
I understand that concern.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and the technical details, but
Right.
at the end of the day, AI is a tool, and
Okay.
like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
That's true, yeah.
It all depends on who's holding it
Yeah.
and what they're using it for.
So that brings us back to that question of, like, what kind of future are we trying to build here
Yes.
with AI? And how do we make sure that it's actually used to help people
Yes.
and not to harm them?
These are the big questions.
Right.
These are the questions that we're all going to be grappling with as AI becomes more prevalent in our lives.
Yeah.
But I'm actually optimistic.
Okay.
I think that the very fact that we're having these conversations
Yeah.
means that we're thinking about it
Yeah.
critically, about the implications.
Right.
And that, to me, is a good sign that we're headed in the right direction.
I like that cautious optimism
Yes.
because it can feel overwhelming, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If you only focus on the, like, what could go wrong, it's important to remember that, like, we actually get a say in this.
We do. We're not just passive bystanders.
We get to help write this story.
We have the power to shape this technology.
Yeah.
To use it for a future that benefits everyone.
Exactly. And that's, I don't know, I find that empowering.
As you should.
To think that, like, it's not already decided.
It's not preordained.
Yeah.
It's a story, and we're all writing it together.
Well, on that note of collaborative
Yeah.
storytelling,
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap up our deep dive into Microsoft's Italian AI
Power play.
power play.
Adventure, or whatever we're calling it.
Exactly. But we hope you enjoyed this little journey
It's been fun.
through data centers and economic forecasts
Oh, yeah.
and the ethical dilemmas of it all.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
It has. And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
Yes.
So keep asking those questions.
Yeah.
Keep exploring and keep your minds open to, I don't know, the possibilities and the challenges of AI.
Absolutely.
Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.